It's no joke when you choke, so get LifeVac and live. Without breath, there'll be death. So get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live.
LifeVac and live.
Yeah. Hey, everyone. It's Rick Fatscher, man in the arena. I'm here with Arthur Lee, CEO, inventor of LifeVac, and Patrick O'Rourke. And we're so happy to be with you this weekend. We're in San Diego. We're in Los Angeles, Houston, Orlando, Dallas, New York, and of course, not to be forgotten, Allentown, PA. Times will vary in your area, but how great is it? How exciting to be part of, Arthur, the fastest growing podcast in America?
Well, you know, it's cool because it's working. People like it. I mean, we are in the arena, so it's not another show of what do you think? It's kind of
other people in the arena.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And what always bugged me is this opinion on everything and having done nothing, and it goes into the kind of opening thoughts for today. We just did this insane motorcycle trip, right?
Insane is a good word. Alive. The good folks out there.
I wasn't
in California.
invited. Yes, I did. I followed it on Facebook.
Yeah. So, but throughout that is always something gurgling in my head, and
your teeth.
Yeah.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah. Well, there was rocks,
Yeah.
but there was some rocks.
The importance of the helmet.
Yeah. But
our head cracking lifestyle.
But the thought was, we had to fly in, we had to drive 5 hours, you're in the sweat, the dirt. It's not easy, And then you're going through Yosemite, and you're on top of a mountain looking out at this incredible country and world and God. And it circulated to me. It goes back. I think I was talking to you about skiing, right? It's pain in the neck. You're tired. Your kids are crying. It's heavy. It's cold. Your hands are freezing. And then you take a run with your family and you get that feeling and you're on top of the mountain. But in a micro sense, things that are hard are great. Right? Like if you think about how hard LifeVac has been, we saved 10 lives today.
Wow.
Already, today.
Okay, that's okay for a round of applause. We have a
clap for that.
The audience is not going
They're busting.
Nuts. We actually
They're busting.
People are eating a lot of peanut butter today.
They've almost gotten used to it, but we never can. As you look at the details of some of the lives saved, it becomes more than just the number.
But here's what I wanted to post to you guys, right? So I was thinking in my life, a lot of hard things, but as growing up as a kid, my dad would make me do everything. I was the indentured servant, and that was my job. Yeah. I understood that.
As it should be.
Abe Lincoln who?
Yeah, I had no problem with that. And one year I had to break up the cement in the entire basement. I had to take a sledgehammer. Couldn't swing it full because the basement was low. Smash it into little pieces, put it in a wheelbarrow, wheel it up, out back, dump it, do the whole thing. Underneath was another floor, and my dad had the great idea, said, we should take that up too. Okay, another floor.
Yeah.
Chip,
now, was Lisa involved, sister?
She came in to scrape later. She was involved in the doctor was scraping. But the point was, it was humongously difficult. And then I had to break up the rocks and put them back down, and it was a project. But two things. One, since it was so hard, I was really proud of it. And my dad was proud of me. And to this day, that floor hasn't cracked. It's like 10 feet thick. And the cement guy was like, what are you going to do? We're driving tanks down here? Because it was
landing planes in the basement.
Yeah. Well, his dad, he was an engineer. But think of something in your life, not like work-wise so much. Think of something that was hard. What was something you
rearing
did
a child?
Hard? Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Well, that's great too, but that's a good point.
Yeah.
But can you think of something you too? Something that you did that was really hard that afterwards you were like, man, that I
was
feel
worth
good.
it.
I can always equate it to beginning of football season with doubles and triples on hot days, and you're like, it's almost a survival thing. It's so hard, you just got to survive it.
Right.
When you do, and we were lucky we had real good teams, it was like, that was totally worth it.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're going through it, you're crying and thinking, why am I doing this?
No kidding. I was not in the basement saying how proud I was
Yep.
when I had sweat and asbestos and cement dust all over me.
Does it make the result more sweet? So, for instance, LifeVac, your journey, 2012 invented to 2016 before a life was saved. Now, incredible, blown past 4,000 lives saved. Does that time period that where the struggles were imminent every day. To
Yeah,
make
but
it more.
I think only because I had one, it was for life, and the thought that knowing what the pain of loss in an instant is and how devastating it is. So it wasn't as conscious, right? It was just keep going, work 20 hours a day, stalk everyone in the world, just keep going. But in this case, do you have a story? Do you have something that you
Well, there were a couple of things.
doing that was really hard?
Two things.
Preferably younger.
Oh, younger. Because this was as a young homeowner. I remember taking apart because I couldn't do anything to construct, but I could destruct.
Right. Okay.
So I tore apart the bathroom, the pool, and also took all the paneling off the side of the house, which I knew, it was difficult. It wasn't pretty. Cut myself quite a bit. And as anyone who knows me, very not handy at all. So breaking things down was much more my style, but very, very difficult. But I knew the end result was going to be a more beautiful home. And because the wife was waiting, and you know what they say, happy life or happy wife, happy life.
Okay.
You're more of a decom man than a constructor. I am too.
Exactly.
Actually.
Take things apart.
My Italian in-laws are always like, "Oh, you're Irish. You can pick up those rocks and move them, and we'll take care of the painting and the details.
Yeah.
You're the idiot who moves
Here's
stuff."
a shovel.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Now, does Kevin, new generation, we have some of our offspring in the audience. Does Kevin now, do they get their hands dirty?
Kevin is the least. We call him Country Club Kev.
Country Club Kev.
Nice.
He's more of a manager on construction sites than an actual worker. But that's smart.
He's bad
He goes out and golfs.
Irish.
Yes, you're doing that wrong. Watch your fingers. Move that over. But my oldest Connor is more of a getting his hands dirty and handy. Kevin's more of
But
the
I don't,
athlete.
it doesn't necessarily mean that, like, I know with Jack growing up doing gymnastics, because for me it was a little tough, and I always threatened her with redoing the basement. 'Cause we have a crawl space. It'd really be nasty, and I have told her the story many times. But I think that we have to be conscious, kind of like fear, right? We worry about fear. It's in the book, right? We worry about fear. You're afraid to do something, but everything great, you have to be afraid of. Having a child is the greatest thing in the world. We're
Right.
all scared when we get this little thing and we got to take it home, and that they're not going to help us anymore.
Very frightened. And the book Arthur references is, of course, Sorry, Can't is a Lie. You can go to lifevac.net and pick up your own copy. Sorry, Can't is a Lie, lifevac.net. And while you're there, hey, why not pick up a LifeVac? Protect those you love. Use code MITA for a great discount. And you get the book, you get a LifeVac to protect your family. And we've protected how many units? So we talk about the lives saved, and we're well over 4,000, and the number will come up later in the show. Ray Priebe, Mr. 3K, will give us the latest and greatest stories. But do we know how many lives are protected, or how many LifeVacs have been
Somewhere
dispersed?
like 3 million, 3.5 million.
Mm.
I did the math. You like doing this.
Let's just like you always say though, you hope you never have to use it, but you
Right.
want to have it for sure.
And later in the
Well-
show, we're going to be talking about how Texas has taken great measures
Yeah, but
to protect the
that's
state.
the lead in because of the difficulty to get that passed
Mhm.
and getting a law passed, and I
I
tried
see what you
early
did.
on.
Yeah, I see what you did there.
See what you're doing.
Yeah, very good, right?
Talking about difficult stuff.
Well, because I think and it goes back to the fear thing when I kind of had that revelation about fear. We fear things that are great, right? You're afraid to start that business, but if you do and you succeed, it's great, and that fear is part of it. And I think we have to understand the importance of difficulty, of pain, of sacrifice. And in a good way, it was what we just did. Being in the freaking hot sun, dirt all over us.
Oh, back to alive.
All beat up.
Drop
and
the E,
tired.
drop the E, but alive, monumental. And I can't thank you enough for the
Yeah.
experience. I mean, getting to spend time with certain members of the LifeVac team, but your family. Jackie was a rock star. Mike Singer's son was a
You
rock
would've loved
star.
it. Like, you would have loved the comedy. Oh my God. It was, it's a bunch of guys just being.
And I'm great in hot weather. I'm great out in the desert.
No, I
Yeah,
thought you
no
were
problem.
good. It's good for your skin.
Sweat reading a book in a meat locker. Can you imagine me in a desert?
But
If I fell in the dirt, I'd look like a breaded chicken cutlet.
Well, that's a good one. But
That paints such a pretty picture.
Yeah.
A
do
pretty
you remember
picture.
we'd take off our mask and like our faces?
Oh,
Yeah,
dirt
you look like
covered.
jockeys on a muddy day.
Yes.
Yep.
It was a
Exactly.
good California dust. We're
Exactly.
talking with Arthur Lee, Pat O'Rourke, and of course, I'm Rick Fatscher, the man in the arena. We're going to have more talking about the Battle of Texas and the great things that Tony LeBate's doing with Equal First Aid. And we'll be back with more after this message.
Hi, I'm Arthur Lee, CEO and inventor of LifeVac, a simple choking rescue device that 13 years ago was made in my garage to protect my daughter.
Now, all of these lives have been saved thanks to LifeVac. Over 4,000 lives and over 2,000 kids. But still, a child dies every 5 days from choking.
Please, our family is everything to us. Consider protecting your family in a choking emergency with LifeVac. Go to lifevac.net today.
Thanks, Dad.
I need my doodling sheet again. Sorry.
And we're back on the man in the arena, and now the woman in the arena, Tony LeBate of Equal First Aid. Just tremendous work. She always does, but the big win this week, Texas takes bold action on choking emergencies with HB 549. LifeVac supports this new law, of course, and it's called the Weston Bryan Mandrell Act, and we'll talk more about the Weston Bryan Mandrell Foundation, which we reached out to, and they must be, over the moon with the success. So, Tony LeBate, welcome as always.
Thank
You're
you.
a frequent flyer here. We
Thank you,
always
thank you.
welcome you.
Thank you so much.
How
You know,
gratifying.
The intro discussion was about the difficulty,
Mhm.
but I mean, obviously, let's celebrate for a second.
Sure.
And explain, the family and what was transpired, and the fact that the Texas is the first and only ADA compliant state. So tell us.
So Texas was slow going at first. The representative was, yeah, we're going to draft it, we're going to put it in, and this is what we kept following it. Please, you have to put a bill in. And then finally, we found out that his own daughter had choked. And I didn't hear it directly, but that was the story. His daughter choked, and the bill then became a priority. So November of 2024, he then did put the bill in. So from November 24 till now, it took 7 months for a law to get passed in Texas. So that really went fast. So it passed the House. There was opposition that, was on record, and we were really nervous about that. But
Do we know what the opposition was?
The opposition was from the Nurses Association, and they just were worried about the training and just did not approve of the bill wording, et cetera. And then the two sat next to each other, Debbie Mandrell and the Nurses Association. And then Debbie came up and, of course, told her heartbreaking story. And the hearing, went on, and it quickly moved out of that education committee and quickly got picked up by the Senate. And it was just an exciting time to see it had to be read 2 and 3 times. And just to watch it move, you can see like the little data moving along, online, which was really exciting. And it was just very fast. But the slowest part was it got sent to the governor on June 2nd. And
Yeah,
it was
the
like,
waiting.
what happens, and could he veto it? And it was the Googling. And
Yeah, but how many states? 7 you've worked on over the
There's-
last, 10 years almost?
13. No, 13.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
tell us a little bit though about the mom, it's grandmother, the grandmother who was the strongest advocate
Yes,
for
mhm.
the
She
Weston's?
So Weston Mandrell's Foundation, yes. The grandmother, once I told her that there was a hearing, she immediately, she spent the entire day. She got there, she waited, because that was the day, I don't know if you guys remember, the hearing took place very late in the afternoon, and we waited all day long. And so the family was there all day.
Oof.
Finally, she was able to, tell her story. So she's been following it. She's been asking if they could be named the Weston Mandrell Act, and advocating with us, and also with Erin Boren. So we constantly just stayed together, stayed on top, kept everybody informed, and, let's move this along. We have to move this bill.
Yeah. Now, he was 18 months old.
Mhm.
Weston. Was it in a daycare facility or a school setting?
I have to be honest, I don't
Yeah.
remember. You know, I'm not quite sure.
Right. But it's appropriate that their loss, and we have other families that have exhibited this, like, just selflessness to advocate for those that, so that others don't have to suffer the same fate.
Think about the difficulty story. They have to go through the most difficult thing, losing a child, and whatever they did would be acceptable. Never talk, go, just whatever, right? It'd be hard to say you have to do something, and they push through, particularly in this case, to help get legislation passed to save others. So if you tie it into the beginning of breaking up a house or wrecking it or going to football camp, the power of fighting through that difficulty has now made a state law that makes all schools safe, particularly for people with disabilities, because they have no option. And they took that pain and now have turned on to saving lives. And as it changes and it goes through the states and we stop losing numerous kids every year to choking, their courage to battle through the pain for something great is the underlying theme, and I think that's important. People need to know that there will be pain, there will be sacrifice. It is going to be hard. But if it's worth doing, those are going to be requirements.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see what states now fall in line, not only with the legislation that is already in place, because I believe there's 13 total states, including Texas, but now which others will say, this is the path.
So as far as, Weston Mandrell's Act, where we have other states, for example, I would love to see Maverick's Legacy onto their bill this coming year. We have New Jersey, right? We have Bowen's Law, Bowen-Levy Law, which would be in Maryland that they're drafting now. We have, oh goodness, there's just so many.
Landon?
Well, Kentucky is, Landon's Hope, which passed the assembly but got stalled in the Senate. So that's going to be reintroduced into another committee.
Now,
So
I went there when he passed and I met the family. I've done it often because I don't see how you can kind of give your condolences in a Zoom call. They live out in the middle of nowhere. A beautiful family, and he was such a cool kid. Like he was a big old farm boy, And the interesting thing about him is he had done a drawing, and he said when he grew up, he wanted to invent something that firefighters could use to save lives. Like he actually drew that out, and I have a picture of what he drew in writing that. And their recovery / turned into fighting through the difficulty to make his dream come true. And once again, it's going through that pain. But to think about the fact, all these states have a child's death.
Are they all attached to a horrendous story?
Pretty much.
And for these other states that we may or may not be in, is there one in California yet?
So there's not one in California, but we did have a family reach out to LifeVac and then reach out to me where they would like to see it in South Carolina. So I do have families that want to have bills put in. We've been trying in Ohio, Michigan, but we just need that one representative that's going to say, I want to do this. Just like Maryland. Maryland was quick to hop on board.
Isn't it sad that it took Costco or it took these states to have action? Let's pay attention to what's gone on in Texas and the big win and get out ahead of it before you have a child lost.
So we have in Maryland, we didn't find out about a choking tragedy until recently, but he passed in 2019. So it takes all these years for their lawsuits to settle, et cetera, where they can finally come public. So that Maryland is not afraid to say, put LifeVacs in every single school. Actually, the representative can't wait to meet the team and to meet you. And he had said to me, he just wants to shake his hand and hug his neck.
Hug
So-
his neck.
I
Hug his
look
neck.
forward to
Yeah.
that.
And
so
and
many
Heidi
people
knows.
want to hug Arthur's
So
neck.
yeah, and he was just quick.
Really hug it.
Yeah, really tight, nice and tight.
It's
Yeah.
anti-choking, anti-choking.
Yes.
I'll do it for him.
Again, LifeVac doesn't do anything for the intentional choke. This is a hug we're
Yes.
talking about.
Yeah. So that state picked up, but I know that we run across oppositions. We have so many hurdles, and I do want to share one. So 1 minute, Maryland is hopping on board, and less than 24 hours, I had gotten a call saying, well, hey, that's great. We can't follow what Texas did. So do you have any other states that passed? So now
Political.
Please tell
there's
me.
a political party. There's a political
That's how
problem.
ridiculous.
This comes
There's
out.
more ridiculous
Yeah.
stuff coming.
Oh,
but
for
So-
God's sakes.
Right. So there's
Chokers
no blue,
know
there's
no
no
politics.
exactly, and there's no blue, there's no red. I'm not purposely going after a certain state because of the representative, but all
Oh.
I know is when I want to help a family put a bill in, we have to have the right representative. For example, Pennsylvania, we have to move on. We just have to move on and ask for another representative to please take on this very
hopefully
critical
it's-
bill.
But here's the ridiculous thing, and I got this way back when I first started. I had Saladino as the assemblyman and Vendetto as our senator, and I can't help it. I wanted you to like it. We wanted to present the stupidity and say, here's a bill that requires schools to obey federal law. So we're gonna have a law that requires you to obey the law.
Obey the law.
And if it doesn't work, we'll get another law that says you have to obey the law to obey the law. Because the law, the federal law, is you have to have equal policy, procedure, and equipment for those with disabilities. Every school has great choking posts. The guy standing up, they're doing it great. No policy, no procedure, no training. It's against the law. So the ridiculousness of the difficulty to get a law where they're already breaking the law.
What a great
And it
opportunity.
turns out that the government is really great at not obeying the law. They love enforcing the law
on other
others.
people.
But
Right.
God forbid you say, hey, you're not obeying the law. Suddenly that doesn't matter.
Really
Right?
amazing.
I mean, is
and
that the frustration
it's
of
so-
equal
it's-
first date?
It's so frustrating. And and again, the slow going. And yes. We even had Colorado, who was only drafted it, but I had gotten a phone call from the senator that said, we were out to dinner. We were all our colleagues, and we were at a table, and a woman choked, but her daughter was there and was able to save her. And we did not know what to do. So this is a priority, but it's still sitting. The draft is still sitting. So we just need, like we said, Texas went, but now do I have to play the game of, well, now I have to do research now. Who's red, who's blue? We don't want to do
So
that.
Maryland has actually stated that because Texas passed this, we can't follow.
This
Like,
is what I
meaning
got.
be next?
I
Yeah,
had to write
please.
this down. So yesterday I had a phone conversation. I said, I'm sharing the news. It was a few messages I left, but I finally got through. And he said, that's really great news, but we have to, do you have New York? Do you have, I don't know if you said Pennsylvania, whatever it was, Connecticut.
Texas was first.
No, this was, Maryland.
Right.
Do you have another state, another blue state? Because if we put a bill in, no one's going to vote for it. And I said, that's just, heartbreaking and,
Ridiculous.
Shame.
choking, doesn't discriminate.
People
And,
say shame on you, but shame on them.
this is the wording he used to me. So I wrote it down because this is exactly what it is. He said to me, well, that's the nature of the beast. And that's exactly what.
Let's change it, because you talked about the opposition,
Mhm.
that there was opposition, and it turned out it was nurses with a valid concern.
Mm-hmm.
That their opposition was, hey, we want to make sure everyone's trained properly. It wasn't, well, the other side wants it, or it's attached to someone that may or may not have spoken to Dr. Ben Carson.
Yeah.
Or, how many other examples we have of just absurd.
But if the
Lines
depth
being
of
drawn.
this ridiculous lines is continue disobey federal law and put children at risk because
In the name of
when
politics.
does it stop?
So you,
It's a
LifeVac,
perfect place for it to stop, right?
Yeah, it is.
LifeVac
Change the world.
has 6 saves in Senator Markland's district, which is Wisconsin. Wisconsin was afraid to keep moving the bill along because some of the members were the governor was part of DPI, and if DPI was going to oppose the bill, which they did,
Who's DPI?
is Department of Public Instruction. They were opposing the bill. The governor was once a part of that. the bill died. It went nowhere. So that's what's heartbreaking. And the senator has 6 saves now in his own district.
With LifeVac.
6
Yeah.
with a LifeVac, exactly.
Well, you know what gets me too, and I guess goes in with the difficult discussion. When does someone say, "I don't care, I'm going to make this happen"? Red, blue, green, the nurses.
It
are
obviously always
afraid.
hasn't been like this, or there wouldn't be any fire extinguishers in the schools, right?
Right.
I mean, at some point they actually worked together and got things done. This is ridiculous.
But you know what's crazy too?
It's not a political thing.
We haven't had multiple children die in a school in fire since 1955. There's 100 kids have choked to death in school since
More,
I
I think.
started.
Yeah.
So when we sit here and we say, well, that state is Landon because he died, and we say, you know, it's
Maverick
it's
and
Maverick in New
Mandrell,
Jersey,
yep.
and
Rufus.
Owie in Pennsylvania, and you could name a kid in every state. Hello, that means it happens a lot. You know, it's not a federal bill for one kid. It's each state has a child, and they have multiple children. New York's, I think, 7 have died in school. And enough with this red, blue, green. Why can't we pick something to get back on track and all agree that
This should be the
kids
perfect
dying is-
obstacle. Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah.
right? And plus the fact that children with disabilities who morally we deserve to give them special consideration only because there is nothing. Like, really? I mean, the MIF guy is going nuts.
Slightly Miff Guy is making an appearance, ladies and gentlemen, without any
Right,
warning.
go crazy.
But you could see it coming. You could see the reason why
Oh,
Miff
like
Guy
Jackie.
is here. Smoke is
Oh.
coming out of Arthur Lee's ears as we speak. And rightfully so. We joke about it, but it is serious. It's something to get behind. And as Pat said, unite. Let's, when we say there's more that unites us than divides us, it's sometimes hard to see that.
Yeah, but you know what?
But let's do
we
it.
all get a feeling like some reality is coming back, right?
Yes,
Right?
common sense.
So maybe
I
this
hope.
is another boost to getting back to common sense and humanity, and right?
I think it's a
Even
great
as
boost.
like I jumped on this journey with you guys, but like we meet these families. The father, I think it was Maverick. He drives around giving out LifeVacs.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, this guy who lost his son.
Yeah.
He buys it, fills his car up, and goes to places and gives them out. There's so many stories like that of families, like just people just. I don't know if this is their way of grieving or getting, or you know, but how are we not listening to these people? How is this not more of a?
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
They're-
and
they're
then what
here.
happened to the fortitude and courage of our great leaders
Yeah.
to do what's right, regardless?
They
Like,
hear
if you
these
told
stories and
me,
I can't vote for it because I'm a Democrat or I'm a Republican. Are you kidding me?
I mean, that would be punch in the face material. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could control myself, because
Yeah.
I'd say you should not be in public office.
Yeah.
Because you believe it or not, you're supposed to be servicing us.
Well, I think some of these people have gone through that struggle, and that's why they're doing it themselves. That's why they're filling their own car with LifeVacs and going out and handing them
No,
out.
they are
They
absolutely.
can't get the government to do it.
But you know what? The why they always get my hero logo. They went through the ultimate pain, and they're doing it so you don't feel what they
Yeah.
felt.
Mm.
Yep.
I mean, talk about persevering through difficulty and looking at the other side. I mean, Maverick, he counts. I think he's got like 5 or 6 that he is directly
Saves from the ones he's
Yeah.
given out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
and that means his little son was responsible for all those kids being alive.
That was
And
guy-
he knows
yeah.
those people didn't have to feel with
On
him.
one show, he talked to us from a car driving to another place.
Oh, yeah,
to
that's
give out
right.
more LifeVacs.
That's
He pulled
right.
over and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to another farm and I'm going to give out 10."
Yep.
And wasn't Wisconsin the state that had the brilliant question about cost, which caused you to
Yeah.
make the magnanimous
Famous statement. I'll give them to you for free.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that was
kind
Think of something better.
that was on an anniversary of a child, Sam, that
Sam.
died in
My
their
buddy
school.
Sam.
It was the
Sam rode with
6th-year
us, by the way.
anniversary.
He was in my pocket.
Yeah.
So on the 6th-year anniversary of that child dying in school, we had the hearing, and the room was heavy, right?
Yeah.
The room was heavy, and the
Well,
we,
that's why I
we
freaked
saw the
out.
video.
yeah, some lost their child, some saved their child, and the word coupon came up. Code. What can you do for us? So he did it.
I made it free.
Great opportunity.
How's that?
You know what?
LifeVac headquarters was heavy too.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? We have a
You
lot.
heard a lot of, what did he just say?
We have a lot of calls to action, and we're up against a break. But I'm asking for the folks of San Diego, Los Angeles, Houston, Orlando, Dallas, New York, and Allentown. Get in touch with your state senator and let them know
Either
that
side.
let's go common
Yeah,
sense.
Yeah.
Both
Yeah,
sides.
both
Yeah.
sides. Let them know that there should be a LifeVac in every school,
A
and,
law
and even
to
more
obey the law.
a law to obey the law.
Oh, God.
More
Ralph
of this
Cramsey.
common sense thinking. after this break.
Oh no.
She started to choke on a piece of candy.
She wasn't breathing.
Then Ray reached for the LifeVac and it saved her.
She could have easily died that day. A LifeVac saved her life. What I would say is don't need a LifeVac and not have it. Have a LifeVac and hopefully never need it.
Recently, the American Red Cross has added anti-choking devices as an option when standard protocol fails or is not feasible.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-543-3822.
Hey, welcome back to the Man in the Arena and the women in the arena. For God's
Yeah,
sakes.
we got women.
Listen,
Dual-
it was
dual
Teddy
women.
Roosevelt who came up with the quote, and unfortunately, he wasn't of diversity of thought
No,
as
I
much
think
as
he
we
was,
should.
because we used to be able to. That was
Right,
considered
that was okay.
mankind more allowed. So,
Right.
but I do like when you say "and the women"
And the women.
because these two are warriors.
Well, we are
Thank
joined.
you.
I'm Rick Fatscher, along with Arthur Lee. We're joined by Tony LeBate, Equal First Aid, and of course Heidi Felix, Vice President of Sales for LifeVac. And Heidi, welcome to the show. A frequent guest.
I don't know. I think that title is almost condescending compared to the heart and soul.
What she
of
does,
LifeVac and
yeah.
the fire of LifeVac and the drive. And
So you're saying
the
change
heart. The heart.
change of title tonight,
why not?
live,
Hey, I'm the president. What am I? I'm CEO. I'm allowed to
CEO.
do that
You're the
stuff.
boss.
And the
Wow,
inventor.
I forgot that. Good for me.
Yeah.
I
So
think I need a raise.
on the heels of the
All
on the
right.
heels of the Texas win, we immediately start looking at, now we mentioned about the unfortunate communication you had with Maryland, but now we have these other states that have bills in progress. So
Keep in mind that
something's going on in
they
New York.
have been working on this for years and years.
Of
and
course.
years. And well, we've been back and forth. I mean, I've been involved. Obviously, I went to Wisconsin. We went to Albany. I've been in there. What a freaking joke that place is. And but I think that with Heidi in particular, to talk a little bit about the difficulty of getting a bill this simple and this smart, basically to obey a law and protect the kids with disabilities. How hard would that
It's
be?
more difficult than School Rock.
Yeah.
I'm just a bill.
Yeah,
I'm only a bill.
Yeah. Well, it's
He
interesting.
signed your bill.
You're a law.
We got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Tony and I went to Trenton, New Jersey, and we were there to testify. And we had, of course, Maverick's parents, and we had Darren and Kim, and we also had some families who actually had lost their son. Unfortunately, had choked to death on a bus, and he was in a wheelchair. So when we got up to testify, I had to address, the animal in the room, which was the fact that this boy had choked to death on a bus without, anybody there to resuscitate him. And so we were talking about having it in schools, but having it on the transportation vehicles is paramount too, because how many of us send our kids with a snack, or you haven't fed them in the morning, or now they have a snack on the way home? And, I don't think these bus drivers are equipped and understand, what they have to do in order to save them. And especially this child was in a wheelchair, right? And I walked up to the parents and I did exactly what you would have done, Arthur, if you were there. And I cried and I gave them
That's always my
LifeVac.
intro.
I gave him a big hug and I said, I never want this to happen to anyone else. And that was his twin sister was there. She also was in a wheelchair.
But I do want to add that they delivered that child back to the family unresponsive.
Yeah.
Nice.
Dead.
So
Yeah.
they just delivered the boy and just said that, we don't know what's happening.
On the
think
stop.
Just how many
It was
years
awful.
you been working on Jersey?
Oh, Jersey, the EFA is 4 years now, but that bill was in there before Equal First Aid was
Right.
incorporated.
Yeah, that's
So,
right.
Yeah,
Mhm.
4 or 5
Now,
years.
how long were you there that day?
Oh, that was a fun day. That was another
A couple-
13-hour day for
She
Tony and I.
says that.
Yeah, it's fun.
Heidi's very difficult. It was
Yeah.
it was 13 hours.
Yeah.
Yo, that's bad.
I was, the thing is,
It's like Jackie.
Yeah.
well, I just adore Tony and I think she's doing amazing work. And so
Hear,
just
hear.
the ability to
Thank
have,
you. What's that?
yeah,
Yeah.
she's amazing.
Thank
And that was what I loved was the heartfelt testimony that came from Darren and
Yeah,
Kim.
it's
And
Wisconsin too.
I mean, that was just, and he actually has 8 saves, by the way, Darren. Just
Oh, is that
shared
what it's
out.
at?
Yeah, he shared that with
That's
us.
amazing.
Way to go, Maverick.
Hmm. Yeah.
That
Darren
guy's
Chambers,
hysterical.
everybody.
That guy's
Amazing.
hysterical.
Yeah, amazing. But the challenge, I mean, I think when Tony and I spent another 12 hours in New York City in front of
Just 2 weeks
City
ago.
Hall,
Mhm.
and we met with the amazing councilwoman, Christy Marmorato, and her chief of staff, April, which they are movers and shakers. They do not fear opposition. And Christy is driven by the fact that her grandfather choked to death in a restaurant.
But think about this too, and you're right. You need the right representative that gets what we're talking about, that's willing to fight and not give up and not bend. And if there was a cause to do so and to cross the aisle, maybe
Yeah.
kill someone, this would be the case. But
Fight about a road bill or whether to put stop signs up
I
somewhere.
really
You want to
think
fight whatever you
the whole
want, but
thing is
not this.
ridiculous
Well,
because
the
we have to
pro-
have a law to have a law.
There's
but
1,200, 2,000 bills every session. So we're just a number. So we need that representative not to look
Right.
at this as a number.
Right.
yeah, but there's some of the kind of casual way they were treating you, and the whole. I even in Wisconsin, I had a combination of anger and emotional draining. Like we just heard 4 people talk about losing their child.
Mhm.
You know, Isaiah in Pennsylvania school, Sam in the Wisconsin school, the Brugmans in a Wisconsin home. Like
How many?
How does that?
How many people
not-
have to die?
Right. And 5,000 a year, one child. It's common. It happens all the time. 100 kids have died in school,
Yeah.
and you feel like they have no soul, right? It's not like they're paying attention. They go, "Oh my God, we need to do something." All
Put
right,
down your
maybe
party
this
hat
isn't
for a
it.
minute and think about the
Yeah, but
lives.
they're like checking their phone,
Of
and
course.
then this one went Wisconsin, and we have it's $69.
Yeah.
You're spending gazillions of dollars on all sorts of things. It's 60. Have a car wash, bake sale,
Yeah.
collect cans,
Or request one
or
for
just
free.
I'll give it to you. How's that? That
Yeah.
works too.
He's talking about the LifeVac. Go
Yeah,
to
but see, I gotta-
www.lifevac.net. Get
Ask
your
for
own.
Mike Punk.
Mike
He
Punkin's head
loves
just
the
exploded
free
again.
LifeVac
He doesn't
for
even like.
school.
Let's be honest. He doesn't even like talking about that day.
He
Right?
starts around. But that's all right. Yeah, I'm getting the no.
No, don't do it.
Don't
Yeah.
talk about it.
Who's on the line? Oh, it's our finance guy.
I just want to add, how we're talking about a champion representative. So Pennsylvania with Isaiah and Steve Maddox, the Maddox family, that bill went to a hearing.
Mhm.
We got to the hearing and our representative walked away from it because
And that was another level of evil, right?
that was that kind of made me look at things a little differently. And that's why if you're not going to give us the time of day, if it's going to take 4 years, we got to move on. So that's my
Timing,
next
but
one.
also but also misinformation from certain parties that
So-
may just have evil intentions.
Well, think about it. It's a feather in your cap if you do this bill, but if it gets a little rugged, you just walk away.
So
we need someone like us that says, "I'm never walking away.
Right.
I will look in your window at night and
Right.
scare you."
And you have done
We'll
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sleep on the floor in front of. Oh wait, I'm getting the no sign
So,
again.
the representative, and
Our attorney's here.
I won't keep the story too long, but
No,
the
please.
representative, the day before, it was even a weekend before the hearing, decided to walk away because his colleague was a highly regarded emergency room physician. He had opposition. So we were going back and forth in this little match. But he said to me, after working on it all these years, that basically they wouldn't represent equal first aid because they don't have enough students in wheelchairs in their schools. And I had to, as he's talking to me, all you have to do is Google it. And I said, Representative, there's 364,000 wheelchair users in Pennsylvania.
In there, wow.
What in Pennsylvania, like we have to get them in all the schools. And
Think of something
it's
better.
just a match. And he's like, well, give me the number
But
of who you
I don't
spoke
know,
to.
it's
And
hard to even hear this. I
it's-
want to go drive to Pennsylvania.
yeah.
and
Well, we're
punch
gonna
someone in
get
the face.
Pennsylvania.
Can we
Don't,
punch someone in the face?
yeah.
Slightly
do it.
miffed guy is on
He's
the
a- Oh, wait,
lookout.
wait,
Our
sorry,
legal
he's
guy
giving me
is
the sign
He's
again.
definitely
yeah.
miffed.
He's going to lose weight. All these hand
Just it's an
signals,
aerobic
yeah.
move.
But
He's got the
those are
hand
just
rubbing
opposition.
across the throat.
We have to know about the opposition.
But
But
how ridiculous.
it's horrible.
And you know what? The federal law doesn't say, you have to have equal opportunity facilities and policy and procedure if once in a while someone comes in. That's not the way it works because you got students, you got staff, you got faculty, you got visitors, and, they don't not open the door so a child can get in a wheelchair until they have one. This is the way it works. Plus the fact that the Red Cross recommends it when protocol fails.
And it does fail.
And if it's not feasible.
Mhm.
So they cover both, meaning if the child, a fit regular child chokes and it doesn't work, you can save them. And if there is a special needs child, whether it's a scoliosis brace, as simple as that, how many kids in school have that? It doesn't have to be a wheelchair for the current policy and procedure not to be able to be done.
Well, the point is, like, my son wound up with an ACL tear and was in a wheelchair because he was a football player. I mean, he was an atypical student. It wasn't like he was disabled in any way, but he wound up in a wheelchair for a couple of weeks. So, I mean, it happens all the time. I think what I was the most disturbed about in that whole New York City Council thing is the fact that they literally, in the very beginning, the councilwoman said, "Is there any opposition to the bill that I'm introducing?" No opposition. The chancellor of New York City Schools was there, her first chancellor, all of them are sitting at a table. 4 hours, Tony and I sat there waiting to testify. Then we get up there, and of course there's opposition, right? So I had to address the animal in the room, which is, well, until it's FDA approved, we just don't feel comfortable implementing it. So you're just going to let children die. And on the line was 15 of our advocates waiting all that time to be able to zoom in, right? One of them happened to be our friend, Vivian Fitzgerald, who is a Department of Education employee, was sitting with her superintendent of her school district waiting to testify for 4.5 hours. Okay, so to me, that's what I felt was not right. And
also disrespectful.
and because all of them waited. I mean, Jen Glenn, I mean, Ray, his heartfelt
See,
testimony.
those are life hackers, man.
Right? They just, and they're
There
all
was
testifying.
15 of them.
15 of them. And then we had 2 people sitting next to us who were complete strangers also supporting the bill because
Think
they
about
were.
this
And
too.
Eric Ryan
And Eric
was
was
there in
there.
person.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Mhm.
But think about this too. This isn't for them.
No.
They just don't want either to happen, or they know, like Jen or some of the people that have had to say, Ray could barely get through the story without breaking down because
We were
he's so
crying.
grateful that he has his child because of
Yeah.
it. But in the real world, that's so powerful. They're not promoting a product. We're not trying to get the EpiPen every year because it's good and it's a pharmaceutical drug. I don't know who was there to represent for the EpiPen, but
And stop the
kids
bleed
choke
kits in every
all the
school.
time.
It got done.
Right? All these things get done and they're more expensive than our device.
Well,
Right?
and they're also FDA regulated just like we are.
Well, but
Yeah,
and
that's
also
a-
Vivian, her statement was, I am a teacher. I wouldn't be here. If that incident happened while I was in the school, I had that LifeVac at my home and I used it to save my own life. And my son performed the abdominal thrusts and it didn't work. And Vivian, who I've known for over 20 years, I can't even imagine her not being here, right? And the idea that her testimony and every testimony was very powerful. Kim, Chambers, Darren Chambers, and they cut Darren off literally, after that 3-minute mark. So I think it wasn't anything that our councilwoman, who was very passionate and
Yeah.
amazing, she said, I don't agree with the way that they handled it. And we don't condone that kind of behavior. We're very sorry, Heidi.
Sorry.
Everything's moving though, right?
Yeah,
Things are moving
so
positive
it's-
because I was thinking, when we hear it, as long as it's not a smoke screen, you have concerns, welcome it.
Yeah.
Welcome it. Questions about training, questions about implementation, even questions about what the FDA thinks.
The
registered.
heartbreaking, what was heartbreaking, it was, you say 4 or 5 hours. I don't know if we got on until 6 o'clock.
I don't
But,
think we did, yeah.
but Heidi and I were the only 2 left in the room.
Yeah.
And she was like, should we leave? And I said, so now, and then there's 2 council people left. We would watch them pack their backpacks, close their name down and walk out. And
How
at one
disrespectful.
point, and I'm sorry for Ray, but we couldn't see the waiting room. But when Ray was speaking,
Ray
it
Priebe,
was
of
Ray
course, Mr.
Priebe,
3K.
was very, very touching.
Yeah.
But the council did not pay attention to his testimony. And we were blown
unacceptable.
away.
They're
And
like-
the officer in arms actually tried to get their attention to cut it out. So the 2 women were, leaning into each other, scrolling on their phone, laughing. And he tried, not about our
Sidebar?
testimony, but just about whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
So at the end, Heidi said, should we be staying here? And I said, well, we have 15 people that have been waiting all day. Obviously, we're going to wait for everybody's testimony. But at the end, when they said, boom, meeting is over, I went up to them and just said, how are you going to vote? Like, how will you know all the support? Oh, well, it's online, it's taped, we'll listen to it back.
Yeah.
But to me, you're having a hearing for all New York City schools to have airway clearance devices. But in New York City, they want the LifeVac in every single school. And then if she gets reelected, she would love to see it in every restaurant. But the people that we were before were disrespectful. And all I hear is, well, welcome to New York. This is, we see it every day. And that was just heartbreaking.
But when I see too, there's 300, 100 bills, and what is the thermometer? This is for kids to be alive in school. Now, that should be up there. In New York, I remember last time was a big thing that bed bugs on mattresses law passed. And I'm like, all right, that's great.
All right, take care of the bugs.
I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if the laws
keep their eye on the prize.
But
Yeah.
I think children being alive in school, particularly those with disabilities, should be kind of up there on the top of the
Critical
things
bill.
to talk about. That should be the first bill they talk about.
Absolutely. We've been talking with Heidi Felix, Tony LeBate, Arthur Lee, of course. We know him sometimes as Myth Guy, but that's okay. He deserves to be. And I'm Rick Fatscher. We'll be back with more Man in the Arena, including Mr. Ray Priebe, 3000, after this message.
Protect your family. Buy LifeVac now.
Thank you, Dad.
That was us over 10 years ago.
Now LifeVac is responsible for saving over 4,000 lives from choking.
In the time it takes you to pick up the phone and call, another life could be saved.
The LifeVac saved my life in 1 to 2 seconds.
Protecting families has always been our mission. I'm sure you love your family like I love my daughter. Do us all a favor and get your own LifeVac now.
Go to lifevac.net or call 877-LifeVac. Order now.
Not enough protein, for God's sakes.
See you at home. Oh, wait, you're heading out, right, Kev? I think he's going to it.
Oh, my goodness. We're back discussing what Kevin O'Rourke is doing this evening.
Yes,
That's
Kevin's
okay.
social plans.
Back after the break.
I
He
think
was
it's
listening
critical
to the
to our
commercial.
success.
Welcome back to the Man in the Arena. You're in San Diego, you're in LA, Houston, Orlando, Dallas, New York, and of course, Allentown, PA. Song made famous by
Billy Joe.
I think even it was famous before. But anyway, Billy really put him on the map, and they were all proud of that song. Enough of this. Let's get to the final segment of the Man in the Arena. We welcome, as always, Mr. 3000, Ray Priebe.
Cool. Raise up.
Hey, Ray now.
Ladies and gentlemen of the arena, good evening to all of you. How y'all doing tonight?
What's up, Ray?
Oh man, what a great show tonight! I love listening to Tony.
Wasn't that last segment? That was great.
Wow!
Moving.
I mean, let me tell you, we waited a very long time to speak to a very little crowd. It was amazing.
That sounds like one of your slogans. I don't know.
Yes, it absolutely
sounds
is.
like my comedy career.
Waiting a long period of time to talk to a few
Very
people
little crowd, yes.
who have
Very little
different-
crowd. That's right. That's right.
But
So
it
we
shows
got some
Ray,
good numbers for you
shows
guys
the
tonight.
power and the heart of LifeVackers. It shows you the
It does.
power, the strength,
Persistence.
Perseverance.
the
What you were talking about.
persistence
Keep going. It's
of
hard.
all these people that are there. They're not there to save the Democratic kids or the Republican kids. They
Nobody
are there
cares.
to save
Independents?
children.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
not that.
No, those.
Not the Irish.
Again.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
I can
Hi,
hear the
Ray.
letters coming. We call him Mr. 3000 because he saved his daughter on the side of a Florida highway.
And she
For the
was the
3,000
3,000
save.
Unbelievable. Yep.
Amazing.
Absolutely. And folks, I come to you whenever there's a show, usually every week, to give you the rundown of the numbers.
Yes.
So, Bobby, do we have a slide tonight, Bobby?
I guess.
Here it comes. Total lives saved by LifeVac. Those that reported.
I couldn't read it.
Oh, 4,257 lives.
Jeez.
Wow.
Round of applause. The crowd.
That's
goes
a
wild.
pretty good number, but guys, that number's wrong.
That number's wrong. I thought the under every week
That number's
was
wrong, guys. since that was made. Let's go to the new number that Donna had just sent me not too long ago. We got more lives saved. How many today? 12 lives saved.
Oh,
Is that a record?
12.
We got 12. We had 2 since I had the 10.
Ray, what's a record for a day?
Oh, we lost it.
God, I want to say it's 14 or 16. 14 or 16.
That's amazing. Amazing, Ray.
So what is the official number?
The official number, 4,263 saves, 2,603 children.
Yay!
Nice.
Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just for the record, the total in a day is 17 saves.
Wow.
17. So we had 12 today. So.
Was that a sausage and peppers festival?
Did I press my luck?
hot dog eating
Yeah,
contest.
exactly.
That's right. All right. Well, I'm going to run into the highlight of the week because that is a good one, folks. And it's right here in my home state. It's only about an hour away. Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida.
Naples, Florida. An 89-year-old man from Naples was choking on a piece of steak. My parents and I live in the same house. My mother came over to my side of the house to tell me that my father was choking. I ran to him and immediately got my life back. His face and hands were turning blue. I knew time was of the essence. My mom called 911 and I started the Heimlich. I used the LifeVac device twice and the steak was dislodged and he regained his color back. Our great first responders arrived and took his vitals and etc. I purchased the LifeVac as a precautionary measure to have in case anyone in my family or household would ever have an issue requiring it. I am thankful to LifeVac and God that my father is okay. There you go, folks. Another save for LifeVac.
There's that God.
Hey Ray,
mention.
did you see the video of the guy we met when we were out motorcycling? That we just
I did not see that video.
Oh my God. It just
Incredible.
It's we all get that. Oh my goodness, what a amazing moment feeling. But we ran into him. He worked there. He was out back and he came in. He was like,
thank you.
It saved my life, 3 times.
Multiple times.
And
wow.
You always get emotional when you tell your story, and I appreciate it. It makes it so sincere. And that same feeling of he was turning blue and someone saying, like, when they write the little paragraph like that, you really feel it. And when that guy told me, we just cried and hugged. And but we got Mr. 3000 and keep us in line here and give us those updates.
That's right. Somebody's got to.
Yeah, that's right.
Somebody's got to.
All
right, folks, here I go. Far better to have it and never need it than need it and never have it. The life you save could be your own.
Hey!
God bless.
Thanks, Ray.
Fantastic, Ray.
We'll see you next week.
Godspeed.
That guy awesome.
He's the best.
And when you talk about politics with a red and blue issue, we could say when you're turning red or blue,
Oh,
that's when
yeah.
you'll need us.
Wow.
That's when you'll need us.
Ray, is he still there?
There you
He's
go.
right. Look at him.
Regardless
He's
of the
writing it down
political color
feverishly.
you're
At
turning,
some
we
point,
will
yes.
save you.
Yes.
But you probably go. I think you go red to blue. So
I want to list stats. I wonder what the best week was ever. 17 in a day. That's amazing.
that's a cool idea. We could do that.
4263.
But you know what we got to do? You're good at this. We got to start a real pool for 5,000.
A real
Early.
pool.
Oh yeah.
Early.
Get on DraftKings.
No, we wanted to do 4,000, but I was picking like Thanksgiving.
I know.
It's way
I know.
past that already.
I picked way past it too. It happened like in 10 days. But I mean, at 4, 2, 3, 2, whatever.
We're averaging like 60, 70 a week. So it's not going to be that far away.
No,
It's
but
gonna
let's start. Let's get that formalized.
5,000 pool.
Ladies and
we should
gentlemen,
do
next
something. We should
weekend,
give
you can
something
expect the formal announcement next weekend
of the tourney
for the show. Yes.
Winner gets a life.
Can we make money on this? Like do betting, or is that illegal?
You never make money. You give everything away. That's
a good point.
Again,
That is a good
Plunkett.
point. I will lose money on it.
Plunkett.
We'll do a
scratching his head.
50-50. No,
Thank you for noticing that. Bud.
we'll give away a LifeVac.
Well, let's give away something cool, like Lenny's car.
Lenny Warner, of course, raising his hand and offering to donate his car
Yeah!
as a first prize
Oh
for the
my
contest.
God.
It's official now.
It's a 3-wheel LifeVac car. It's The motorized.
Listen, to get involved, you better
like
write
the
down
med
this
hat.
website,
Remember when the med hat used to come out?
www.lifevac.net. Go
Relief
to
pitcher.
lifevac.net.
Yeah.
Pick up a copy of Arthur's book, Sorry, Can't Is a Lie, and get yourself a LifeVac, the original. No imitations, no knockoffs.
No,
Get the
it's
original, for
ridiculous.
God's sakes. Go and use the code MITA. MITA. What does that stand for, Pat?
Man in the arena.
Excellent.
Let's hear it for Rick
Excellent.
Thatcher one time, too.
Yeah,
He
I
never
think
thanks
so,
himself.
too.
Great job,
Yeah.
Rick.
It's just
Here
a
for
pleasure.
Rick Fatscher.
I'm blessed.
Mr.
There's free
Radio.
donuts and coffee today, so there's a big studio audience.
It's packed of in here. I think there's
Tony-
a fire code.
Tony
violation.
always provides
I know.
Yes.
I know.
sunshine
Amazing.
and donuts and coffee.
She would be the team mom. She's unpacking the car.
Yeah. Do you have oranges? Because we used to get them at half.
Sliced oranges. They're the best.
It's the
Yeah.
best.
So I think we should talk about what's coming up in the coming weeks, because I think there has been a lot of excitement certainly around this bill. HB, what was it?
549.
545. More important, the Weston
Number,
Bryan Mandrill Act. Weston Bryan Mandrill
Yes.
Act and the Weston Bryan Mandrill
Well, it's
Foundation.
the beginning of the end of kids choking to death in school. In our, hopefully, God willing, in the next year, we get them in the schools. We never have a kid choke again. Never have 100 kids. I have them on my wall.
Yeah.
100 names.
Yeah. And the state of Texas kicked us off. Tony and Equal First Aid is involved in 13 other states, and all
We'll
soon
get
to
there.
follow. Listen, if you're in these,
By kicked us
if
off,
you're in
state
the
of
market-
Texas agreed to it.
Yeah.
Not kicked us off. They agreed. They took it in. And,
Did I say? Oh, kicked it
us
off.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, kicked it in.
Yes.
It's a lot of euphemism. If we mess it up, we mess things up. The audience would be misled. We don't want that happening. No. We want to be
We
clear.
want a properly led audience.
You want Ohio and Michigan and South Carolina now.
So
Let's
listen,
go.
Yeah.
San Diego, L.A., Houston,
Santiago.
Orlando,
Santiago.
Dallas, New York, and Allentown. Well, New York, we're already involved, but these other states, let's get in touch with your state senator. Make sure that they have a bill.
Contact
going.
us. Contact Equal First Aid.
Yeah.
Get
Tony,
in the game. Get
equalfirstaid.com.
in the game.
Tony Labate, spelled out. Tony Labate at equalfirstaid.com. Get in touch with Tony. Help us legislate. Help us end
Help our
choking deaths
children.
at school. Help the
those with
kids
disabilities.
who know no politics, who
No,
just
they
want to
don't.
live. They
They
just
don't.
want to grow up
They
and
turn
then,
red,
then
then
choose
blue.
their politics.
Mm-hmm. There
That
you
was
go.
Pat.
Wow. And that's about it.
That's about
Pat,
it.
any parting words?
Don't turn red.
Remember
and
their
blue.
names. I'm seriously the kids.
Oh man, that's a good point.
Right?
Beautiful.
That's it.
Beautiful.
They're all for a child. So
That's
let's
Pat.
not add to that list.
Yeah, that's Pat. For Arthur Lee, I'm Rick Thatcher, and
And I'm
it's
going to
just
Fat
been a
Camp this
pleasure.
summer.
Yeah,
that's
we're
right.
talking big show next
That'll be
week.
another
on that.
contest. That'll be another contest.
Oh, we should incorporate that.
We'll see you. How about Mike Rowe takes us out? We'll see you next week on The Man in the Arena.
Yeah.
It's no joke when you choke, so get LifeVac and live. Without breath, there'll be death. So get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live. Get LifeVac and live.
LifeVac and live.